So we are live.
All right. Well, that's great. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural event for the 52 Weeks Show.com. Welcome today. I'm Troy McLaughlin. My co-host is Stan Bush. Today's guest is Marc Ensign. Marc's stated goal is to save the Internet. Yes, the Internet. Highlights of his career include living with his mother after college graduation, doing some Tony Awarded Broadway gig, Rent, harassing agents, stealing phone books. Now he runs a top website design and SEO firm called Rethink with his good friend Tom McVeigh, which was recently awarded number 370 of the fastest growing companies on the Inc. 500 list. You can find Marc's insights and musing on marcensign.com here on Google+. Just make sure to spell Marc right. That's M-A-R-C with a no K. Welcome, Marc.
Thanks. I think Marc Traphagen is not going to be very happy with me because that Marc with a K thing is getting a little too far. Started out as a simple joke, and now I'm making enemies with an SEO guy that's going to bury me.
Well, he's a pretty bright guy. I wouldn't want to take on Marc on some kind of those SEO things. I've seen some exchanges with him and a few others, and he seems to be a pretty bright guy.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of things I needed to cover. Just kind of get started off. I wanted you to know that I got a call from Matt Cutts today about the Hangout, and apparently he's read your blog, and he wanted to know what we planned. I told him that I was going to interview out of that guy, and Matt said, "Well, go ahead, just interview his ass off, just like your blog said." But we are going to put a filter on it so that you can't hear some of the words that are said out there. So that's straight from them. They'll be indexing this thing, and it's just going to be we got to be careful about what we say. I'm not going to ask you what your favorite F word or anything like that is.
I'll try to keep the potty mouth to a minimum.
Yeah, I know. So here's the format. I'm going to interview you for a little bit, and Troy's going to interview you with some serious questions probably, and then Troy's going to poke me and wake me back up, and I'm going to do that for a little bit, and then if we want, we'll just tag team you. And cutting to the chase, it's like all the legal contracts that you're going to read out there. There's nothing in this that has any is in your favor at all. Everything is in our favor.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I know you do. So now we're going to get right to the basics of this to start the questions off. Is the first thing I want to know is, like Troy said, is what's up with all the hard names for Google Plus guys with the name of Marc? I mean, like Marc Seidel, or I don't know how to pronounce Seidel, and Marc Traphagen. There's more A's in his name than it's like if you do a search for people with A's in their last name, Marc's got to come up on the top of the fold because it's just got like so many of them in there. And you are Marc with a C. Is that some kind of a search engine thing, so that maybe when somebody's looking for Marc, that you come up first, or is that some kind of a superhero Clark Kent kind of deal, where you just want to make sure you get that in there?
I'm glad you asked that, Stan. When I was a fetus, I had a conversation with my mom, and I said, I don't want to fall into that whole trap of Marc with a K. I want my life to be very difficult, and then for everybody I know to spell my name wrong, and she took care of that for me. So that's where we are today. Well, and for what it's worth, and just getting onto the vowel thing, my wife's name is Amy, and of course she has to spell it A-I-M-E-E, and then E-N-S-I-G-S. So she's got more E's in her name than it's got to be a record in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Amy, like the song.
Yeah, but just spelled in some ridiculous way where she's got like 98% vowels.
Well, I thought it might have been something like they didn't have a K on the typewriter at the hospital. Maybe the K wasn't working, or that your real name was Marcus Aurelio. I kind of couldn't get the grip around that, but I think it's a great search engine technique. And then I want to know, like your last name, is it Ensign?
No.
Insignian?
No, it's Ensign. But I also answered Ensign because that's what most people usually say.
Well, don't you answer just anything as long as they got a check, or?
The check is even optional sometimes.
Yeah, I hear you. So let's see. So your mission is to save the internet, right?
Yes,
from all the rock stars, gurus, and ninjas. But when I do a search, let me see if I can do this screen share thing here. when I do a search here,
Uh-oh.
it's not going to let me do that, is it?
Oh, too bad.
I
How do
know that's too
what?
that's too bad. Well, I can tell you, I got a printout of it too, because when you do a search for save the internet from all the rock stars, gurus, and ninjas,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you come up number one. So when I do a search for save the internet, you don't show up at all. I mean, not at all. But if I do a search for rock stars, gurus, and things like that, you're like right there on the top, man.
I
So
know.
explain that. I mean, if you're going to wouldn't save the internet, wouldn't that be like the top of your fold deal?
Well, much like Superman, I like to kind of go undercover, and so that's all on purpose. No, no, this whole save the internet thing, it is a very funny marketing, marketing thing. It's a little sticky. It's got that whole kind of over the top thing, but there is some meat to it. Like I am serious when I say that, and it doesn't, and I certainly don't want to bring the room down and stop you from poking fun at me, but. Um, my whole, like my feeling about it is I've been doing SEO and I've been teaching stuff and writing for a while, and I have a thing for the little guy. I have, not that kind of thing. Stop it, Stan. I have a soft spot for, my heart for people that are up and coming because, I used to be a small little guy in my basement trying to start a little company, and when you see these ads, and it's more prevalent on Facebook or where I can get you to Google for, in 24 hours for $97 or $197 and all this other kind of stuff. And there are companies out there that are starting out. They don't have the money to hire an SEO firm, so they jump on this bandwagon. They do this weird technique that you and I both know, and in 3 or 4 months, Google's going to plug. They're going to realize they left the door open. They're going to close it and put somebody out of business. The folks that teach this kind of stuff, they have pockets full of domain names. They destroy one domain name and they move on to the next one. The guys that are getting hurt are people that have actual, skin in the game, and I just want to point that stuff out. I want to help those folks out, and so with writing and with blogging and all this other kind of stuff, just kind of give them the tips that what it's like to be human and how to conquer social media without some kind of weird trick or spin on things, or you need 50 different accounts and automate everything and post quotes and hire somebody to do it for you and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so Troy, what do you want to ask him about SEO?
Well, I have no idea what SEO is, anyways. I know it's search engine optimization, but I have no clue how that works. I'm not a nerd or a smart guy concerning that. But you talked about, and I've heard this talk about humanization and this idea of giving of yourself. And I know you talked with Les Dossi about this, and there was a transition in your career and your mind thought, or the way you thought. What kind of led to that?
It's my story starts out as being a musician, and I went to college for music, and my number one goal, my dream in life, is to work on Broadway, and so I started. I moved back in with my mom. That's my big joke, and the internet wasn't very prevalent at the time. It was 1994. And so I took a trip into the city, and I started knocking on every door, for every theater, and I started stealing playbills. I took I brought in a wire cutter, and I stole a phone book from a payphone, and I just started calling people, and I was relentless, and I just wouldn't stop calling people. I was, sending letters, not sending emails, so I was sending letters, sending tapes, and just hounding everybody to the point of, restraining orders. And still didn't get what I wanted. So I started telling everybody I wrote for Bass Player magazine. And that was a big magazine at the time. If I was a bass player, I wanted to get on Broadway, I should start hanging out with other bass players. Everybody wanted to be my friend because I wrote for Bass Player magazine, which I didn't, but I told them I did. And that gave me an in. I started learning. I started going in, interviewing everybody, learned all the secrets and all this other kind of stuff. Sat in, watched the shows, got the music. And now I had to pitch Bass Player magazine on this article because now I had kind of an obligation. And so I got $350. I wrote an article about being a bass player on Broadway, and I still didn't get the show. And I do believe that because there's this undercurrent of what can everybody give me. This is all about I'm going to write an article about you because I wanted something. I was going to write it about something that I needed to know about, and I was just forever trying to accomplish my goal, and it was just about me. One of the guys had a father that played bass as well, who had since passed away, but he had played with Jim Croce, he played with Bob Dylan, Diana Ross, and because back in the day they never really put any names in the liner notes, he never really got the notoriety that he deserved, and so he reached out. He would tell me the story about his dad, and the guy was really broken up about it, and so here's an opportunity for me to set this right, and so. Without wanting anything in return, without having this one hand out, one hand in kind of thing, I wrote this article about his dad, and it was called the most famous bass player you've never heard of, and it got published, and and it was just about him. Like it was for the first time in this whole process, which was almost about a year long. It was about everybody. It wasn't about me at all. It was about this other guy, and within 2 weeks he asked me if I could sub the show. And that taught me a very valuable lesson that once I let go of my commitment to getting what I want and just was able to feed somebody else, I get it back somehow. I just have to have some blind faith. And throughout, that was 15 years ago, 20 years ago, actually 20 years ago. And now here we are, and everything I've accomplished up since then has always come from that kind of mentality. What can I give? How much can I? What can I put out there in order to, in order to help other people, in order to give back to other people, in order to be human, and somehow it just always works out in my favor in the end.
So I mean, you probably did it on faith to begin with, but now you know that it works. I know a lot of your articles kind of reflect that idea. There was a me, I article that was pretty popular, and I had read through that, and I think you talked about this idea that there's all, and I know when I interviewed David Amerlin, he talked about this fact of, he says, many times we still do things that are in essence self-serving, but in order to help someone else too, because it does help us out in the end.
Sure.
But just that, to me, though, I was impressed with that idea that there was a transition from I'm looking just out for me, and you just pushed that aside and said, I'm going to take care of this one other person right now. Yeah, not worry about what the results were.
Right, and it was effortless. Like it was, I'm sitting at dinner talking to this guy, and he's talking about his dad, and you could tell like there was something inside. This had been eating away at him for 20 years, and and I couldn't help but think like I actually am the person that could pull the thorn out of this guy's toe. I mean, I'm a starving bass player. I'm living with my mom, but I'm the only guy that could fix this for him right now, and I could, nobody else was really interested. And so to jump on that and to let go of all right, I'll write this for you, but can you give me a chance? Like there's no but, there was none of that, there were no strings attached, and I think because of that, he felt obligated to help me, and to then feed me back, and I think that's true with so much in business that if you're willing to be out there and help other folks, we're all trying to climb the ladder, and but just help the person below you a little bit. It comes back to help you in the end. Then the person that's above you can help you up. It becomes a thing where if we all just kind of help each other. And I know it's very kumbaya and also that kind of crap, but it is true, and I've built a living off of that. Just being out there and helping out folks.
So that was that Broadway play was Rent.
Yeah.
Which was really like a really big deal.
Yeah.
And what made you get out of that?
Couple things. I was on tour for a long time. I met my now wife 2 months before I left to go on the road for years, and which is great for a relationship. And so we decided she was going to fly out every 5 weeks. She was a teacher, so whenever she had a break, she would fly out. So she couldn't fly out when we were in New Orleans, but she came to Kalamazoo, Michigan. And then she would miss, she'd miss L.A., but she was in, Des Moines, Iowa. So she came out to the worst possible places. So being on the road becomes like a real drag after a while, after a year, 2 years, 3 years. And I just come back from being on the road for 2 years earlier. So I'd been away from home for a long time, and we were in Atlantic City, and my family came to visit, including my my nephew, who was I think 4 or 5 at the time, and or 3 or 4, somewhere around there. And so I went up to say hi to him, and he asked his mom who I was. And then I started looking around at like pictures of around the house, and my family had taken a big cardboard cutout of my face and put it on a stick. And so they would have Thanksgiving, and somebody would be holding Mark on a stick. So I would be in all the picture and in all the family pictures, but they just cut out big pictures of my face. And then you really start to feel like you missed out. So I came home and I started playing the show in New York for a while, but I was playing like kind of part-time and subbing and stuff like that. So after I was on the road, I had done that for about 10 years, and then the show closed, so I didn't really have much of a choice. I mean, I still went there to try to play it, but they wouldn't let me because like Newsies was there or something else, or some other show. And then and then as I was doing that, I was filling in the gap with like wedding band gigs, because as a musician, you do what you have to do. And so I was doing wedding band gigs, and which were horrifying. Wedding band gigs are just awful, and but they paid really well. So I get a call on Wednesday. We have 3 gigs for you: Friday, 2 on Saturday. I do those gigs. They pay $300 a night or something, and then on Saturday I'd come home at 2 in the morning, and I'd hate myself and say, I'm never doing this again. This is awful. And so I would. But Wednesday would roll around, and I'd be like, "Nah, it wasn't that bad. All right, I'll do it. I'll take the gig." So I take 3 more, and then Saturday would roll around, and I would hate it, and I'd say I'm never doing it again. And then Wednesday would roll, and it was this ongoing pattern that I just couldn't shake, And so I came home one Saturday night, and I said, "That's it. I'm never doing this again. This was awful. Girl from Ipanema for 45 minutes is just torture, while people were eating shrimp cocktails." And so so it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm coming home, and I'm like, I'm talking to myself. Who am I kidding? Of course on Wednesday I'm gonna take more gigs, and this is just ridiculous. Why am I even pretending like I'm not gonna do this again? And so I was like, well, I gotta commit then. If I'm gonna stop doing wedding band gigs, I gotta make an official commitment. So on my way home, I stopped off at a 7-Eleven, and people still, I got out. And I stripped down to my boxer shorts and took my tuxedo and threw it in the clothing donation booth. And so I donated my tux to somebody, I don't know who, some poor soul that's probably playing a wedding band right now. And that was my commitment to never play another wedding band gig again. And that's when I started getting into internet marketing and web design and SEO, because I need to make a living. Like it's tough as a musician. And I just had so much fun doing this, and it took off, and so now it's kind of went the other way.
The rest is history, so to speak.
Right.
Well, I think I got the screen share thing figured out, and I wanted to ask you a question here, because I know that everybody knows that you're an author, right?
I think so.
And so, yeah, I think everybody knows, because you've got a couple of books out there that have done pretty good, and I wanted to see if you could explain those. That's like the Groove book and Slappin'.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the. Yeah. All right. Come on.
Well, you did have a couple other ones, I think. Yeah, there's another good profile. This was your profile picture of that, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Well, I got a call the other day from Kenny G. And did y'all have the same publicist during that time, or tell me a little bit about that?
About Kenny G, or about what?
About y'all. I mean, because you're definitely styling it in this picture here. And when I read the profile down here, I did read this, and it says that you could visit members.aol.com, Marc Ensign. And I was looking at that, and I don't know if you're aware of it, but there's this like a new thing, called MySpace, and I thought that you might want to know that it might be time, to kind of move that stuff over to there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm going to work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those. Let's see. I wrote those in 1994, 95, and yeah, that was all right. That was very funny. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I've got a couple more for you. You're really. I think my personal favorite
Oh
is
no!
is the. Let me see if I can find this.
I'm so glad you figured out the screen capture thing.
Yeah, can you see it now, or have I got to start the screen capture again?
You gotta have to. No, we can see it now. This is perfect.
No, I think this is probably one of my favorites right here. Um,
Oh, nice.
is that did you do a Snuggie commercial or?
As you can tell, my Photoshop skills are up there with my ability
Yeah,
to pull off a pair of orange shorts.
yeah. Oh, well, I was looking at the other. So you photoshopped the one on the right hand side too?
No, no, no. That calculator watch is real.
Oh,
As
that
well
is
as the glasses.
yeah,
Right.
that is really awesome.
It's a good look.
And you got another book though. You do have another book out called The
Uh,
Search Engine Humanization. Is that
right.
right?
Okay. Yes.
Well, tell me about that.
Okay. Well, you got to take this picture off first, though.
I'm trying, man.
I can't look at that and talk.
I'm trying. I'm like I can't figure out how I got it off the first time. That's why I said I don't.
Oh,
Is
there
it
we
gone
go.
now?
Yeah, it's
There
good.
you go. All right. So now let me
All
go
right,
ahead.
that's very funny. So a couple years ago, along with everybody else, in the world of SEO, constantly looking for how to trick the system and how to figure out a way, figure out where the hole in the boat is as far as Google is concerned. And that was years ago. And just one day it just hit me that look, no matter how much I read, no matter how much I study or try or whatever, I'm not going to be smarter than Google. Like I'm just not going to outsmart them. I know that I'm not going to outsmart them. They have cars that drive without people. I could barely, pull out of my driveway without hitting a fire hydrant. It's just, it's a moot point, and so they're constantly going to be one up. And so rather than trying to trick the system, what would it take to play by the rules? And to play by the rules to a point where, figuring out what is it that they're looking for, and how can you play along? And really the whole purpose, as far as I'm concerned with Google, is really, as far as search goes, is to give the person searching the most relevant and most appropriate information, to answer their question. Because whenever you're searching something, you have a question. You're looking for, I need a plumber is not just, plumber. It's, I need someone. It's a question. And so it started out that way, and then turned into this whole idea of being human, and just being online, having a personality, and having and wanting to add value, wanting to give away all the things that I learned from my back in the musician days and everything else, turned into this what I ended up calling search engine humanization. And it's search engine optimization through through being human, through figuring out who it is that you're trying to attract. Who would be an ideal customer for me? Not just like, hey, let's throw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. But who would be an ideal client? The one that I really love to do business with, not necessarily the one that pays the most money, but the one that I really enjoy working with, the one that really would help my company grow. Maybe they refer me a lot. Maybe I like their personality. Maybe they're easy to work with. Maybe they pay a lot. Who are those folks? And what are the questions that they have? What are they struggling with? What do they need? And how can I give it to them? So now all of a sudden your website stops turning into a place to sell and starts turning into a place to educate and to inform and to help people, with the idea that if again, if I'm helping you, if I'm giving to you, if you have if let's say you have a hole in your roof and you got a leaky roof or whatever, and I'm the guy, rather than saying trying to pitch you over and over again on trying to sell you a roof, saying hey, maybe you don't have to replace the roof. There are ways to patch it. Here's an article. And so when you go online and say, I gotta, should I patch it, should I replace it, or whatever, and you find this article, I'm the one helping you and giving you that information, building rapport. We're building a connection. You now have I've built instant credibility, and then there becomes this thing where I've built equity in your eyes, and now you feel as though, well, I gotta at least give the guy a shot. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the gig over it, but geez, if you got in front of their eyeballs and you're not overselling, you're not making these, you're not becoming offensive with sales pitches and overutilization of keywords. Hi, my name is Mark, and I'm a search engine optimization speaker, author, and consultant. As a search engine optimization speaker, author, and consultant, I do search engine optimization. Like, you're not that guy, overusing words on your website, but actually connecting with people, and it works. I mean, I can tell you, I get so much. The majority of my traffic comes from search engine optimization, and I don't optimize a single post that I write. I just kind of put it out there, just put out good information, and people find it.
So you let Google, in a sense, do their job, and you do yours.
Exactly. I know who would have thought. And there's no doubt that it's much more difficult. I mean, it's much more taxing to write a lot of good content. To put the content out there, it's a lot easier to hire somebody on Fiverr to build 1,000 links, and then hey, look at that, maybe it works, maybe. But somebody just wrote, Catherine, that's how old I am. I'm 14. I'm not 1994. Like, I still use, just so you know, I still use my high school yearbook picture as my avatar. So I'm actually Stan's great uncle.
Yeah, I think I have a picture of that if you'd like me to to find it. No, there was another. There was a question here by Wendy Hernandez, or not so much a question, but she said, "What's the name of that? What was your article this week?"
Oh, the pussification of the internet.
The what?
The pussification of the internet.
Yeah. I did a search, and that word didn't come up in in the dictionary or anything. So
we're working on it. This year was selfie. Next year is pussification.
Oh, yes. Well, can't you just add it to Wikipedia?
It might not be a terrible idea. I don't know if it'll get bounced off.
No, probably not. Probably not. So I did have a couple of other questions for you that I think are over here on this on my slide share or slide screen, if I can find it here. But I would be afraid I wouldn't be able to bring that back. This is the first hangout on there that I've actually ran. So
and just not to jump in on you, but it's incredibly unprofessional of you, Stan.
Well,
I just want to make mention of that.
Well, I wanted to tell you, appreciate that. If
I wasn't naked from the waist down, I'd get up and walk away right now.
I know. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move into the T&A session of this interview.
Oh, geez.
And
it's not more pictures, is it?
No. That stands for telepathy and answers.
Okay.
I don't know what you were thinking, but I've read your stuff and I got an idea. And here's the way it works. I'm going to give you the answers, and then you're going to select the correct answer, and then I'm going to tell you the question. If I want to.
Okay.
I don't want to. If I don't want to, I don't have to.
This sounds fun.
But you're going to be rewarded 3 points for each correct answer, and there's no wrong answers because I know how fragile you are, and I don't want to hurt your feelings or none of the answers. So none of the answers are wrong.
It's much too late for that, Stan. But go on.
Yeah. I know that whole everybody gets a trophy, and we got like a certificate of participation for you at the end of the deal here. So that So are you ready, Precious?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So the first question is: paper or plastic, or that weird stuff that's like cloth that they put it in now?
Paper, plastic, or that weird cloth. What I do is I just hold my hands out like this, and I just and just do that, then dump it into the trunk, and make one of the kids empty the trunk out.
See, that's that whole telepathic thing, man. We're not zoned in, because the question is, what's the most expensive piece of luggage I own?
Well, you know what? My answer stays the same. I hold my hands out like this, and
Okay, number 2. Coffee, orange juice, or Sam Adams?
Oh, Sam Adams.
Yeah, I figured that was going to be it. What beverage is considered a staple on my shopping list?
Again, okay. That's 6 points for me.
Yeah, you got 6 points, and you can cash those in at the end of the show. Each one of them are worth nothing. Apple, Macintosh, or Macintosh Apple?
Apple, Macintosh, or Macintosh, Apple. I'm going to say Apple.
Well, you'd be correct. What are things that you'll never find on Stan's shopping list? Like, ever. It ain't going to happen. Okay, and the last question is Angela Jolie, Brad Pitt, or both?
That's a dangerous question, especially after the article I wrote about living with a swinger.
Yeah, I know. I have read it. That's actually kind of where the question came from. It's like,
I'm gonna have to say Angelina Jolie, just because I'm afraid of what you're gonna.
No. The question is, which of these two stars were in Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Which is both. I figured you would know that, being the Broadway star kind of guy and everything.
It's not like it was on Broadway; it was in the movies.
And then we have this other. The last question is one that has to do with your vision, because I know how your vision goes out there so deeply, and I just wanted to find out from you, who you think's going to win the Super Bowl.
Definitely Denver, no question.
I actually thought the same thing.
So did I.
I was like, yeah, I bet you did. I was like Denver all the way. And then getting some serious stuff here is that over there on. I want to go back to that period of your life where you were in Rent. Okay, mm-hmm. Did you do the sleep in the car thing?
As a musician?
Yeah.
No.
Or is that still going on? I mean, you and I are working on that second book right now.
There's always tomorrow, Stan. There's always tomorrow.
Yeah.
No. I was very fortunate. I went to college for music, and I had a gig on a cruise ship right after graduation, and then I did a tour in Alaska for a while, and then I came home and I got really focused on the on the Broadway thing, and I just did a lot of things. I taught, I wrote those books, and I made $83 over the course of the past 15 years on those books, mm-hmm. and I played these wedding band gigs. I played in bands. I mean, I hoard myself out like nobody's business, and and a lot of it was because I had this stupid website on AOL. It was you laugh about it, but I don't even know if it's I guess it probably doesn't work anymore. But I couldn't get the publisher to change it, so it is what it is.
Well, it does still work, just so you know.
It does, really? Is the website still up, or is it just forwarded?
No. I think now it goes to Michael Bolton's page. But,
oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, it was because they were similar,
All right, this is something that you won't find, and I probably shouldn't release this because then I know you're going to use it against me. But I have this thing. I challenged myself. I don't even know what to call it. It wasn't a goal, because a goal would make me really sound creepy. But I'm proud to say, I'm very proud to say that I have a collection of celebrities that I peed next to. And Michael Bolton is one of them. Paul Schaefer. I got a bunch of them.
That is like way too much information, is what I'm thinking. That's like, yeah, that you peed
well,
next to.
There was like the thing with the thing in between, so it's not like we were looking. But I have been at an event with I won't say but I've been at an event with my wife, and saw a singer head into the bathroom, and I interrupted her. I got to go. This is another one for the list, and so.
Well, who was that?
It was Michael Bolton.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, so.
Is that when you had the hair like Kenny G?
No, no, I didn't. Although that could have been, the picture you saw was one of the better ones. Like I had some whacked out hair. I have curly hair, and when I tried to grow it out like Bon Jovi, it just kind of did this weird mushroom thing on top of my head. It was horrifying.
So more of a Weird Al Yankovic hair.
No, it was much worse than that. Like I could only dream it was that good. It was. I'm surprised Stan hasn't found the pictures.
I didn't say I hadn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I can tell you that I did find some. I did find some pictures of you that were Well, very interesting, but I'm not going to bring
Really?
them. Yeah, I found some that was really pretty interesting.
Like
I
what?
might, well, I might be able to get back to it
I
and see if I
didn't.
can find them
This is
here.
this is not a
I
good
just found a
idea.
bunch of stuff, man, like that was really interesting about you. Um, well, like this actually. This goes back to the internet guru thing,
Oh
but I'm
boy.
going to go back to this picture here. Is that I'm trying to figure out. That's your picture right there, isn't it? And I'm looking at the way that you're leaning your head, and the way that Yoda is leaning his head, and I'm just thinking, maybe that's the secret to him is that he's
Right.
actually Yoda, but you haven't said anything that would indicate that yet. And there was this was a question. How do you use SEO on that? I think that's a question I want answered right there. How do you SEO that?
Um,
You
Man,
know,
I don't even have a good enough answer for that yet.
well, I asked I got my resident
Well,
SEO.
clearly link building, but go on.
Well, I called Foghorn Leghorn because I figured that was the only guy might be able to read it that I know. And he said that was like Rhode Island Red or something. That it wasn't. He couldn't tell me how to SEO it at all. And I get these. Do you get these things all the time?
No, no, I don't go to visit those porn sites that you do.
Well, I don't. Well, wait. I can bring up some more pictures if that's what you want to do. If you want to go there, let's see. Here, where is that one? Oh, is this you right here?
No, that's not me.
It's not.
No, I don't think so. I
Well,
hope not.
it
No, that's
sure.
not me.
It says Marc Ensign, and then what I also thought was unusual about this image was that here's you right here. Clearly, that's you, right?
Yeah.
And that's Lionel Richie right next to you.
Right.
Now, so did the way that happened? Did that have to do with the way that the hair looked, or what? Or was that like a musician thing?
No, no. Well, I had been trying for years to grow that kind of mustache, and if you look close enough at my picture, I just, I couldn't get more than a little bit of peach fuzz. So that was more of a, you watch The Secret, right? If you think long and hard enough about it, it might happen. So I used to hang pictures of Lionel Richie everywhere.
The Secret. No, I don't. I haven't read. That's a book, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I haven't read that. I can't.
Read? Yeah, I know.
Nope. I sure can't. Right now, I'm trying to figure out once again how to do this, get this screen share off. But
Right. Now we're going through your email.
yeah. Well, there's no collection notices in there, are there?
Well, now, Mark, you did that whole ad thing a couple years ago, right? You were in an Inc. 500 event, and you came in like the Green Monster, or the Green Machine, or you and Tom
Yeah.
had walked in and talk about that.
We it was this past let's see, it was October, I think, October 2013. We went to the Inc. 500 convention, a couple thousand people, that made the Inc. 500 5,000, and like a great crowd. Gary Vaynerchuk was speaking, and we figured we're going to get lost in this big room of people. So what can we do that would have us stand out a little bit? So we thought long and hard about it, and came up with this idea that, like, hey, what if we showed up as superheroes? Nobody else is going to show up as superheroes, so nobody would have the balls to do that. So we put on our superhero costumes, and it was the Green Lantern, but we cut out the circle, the logo, and put our logo and our ink number, and we went day one dressed as normal human beings, and day two we decided that, like, around 1 or 2 o'clock, we ran upstairs to our hotel room, got dressed, and had to walk through the entire room with the cape and the whole. We wore a cape because I didn't want people looking at my ass, and and it's a true story. So because the Green Lantern doesn't have a cape, so we walked through the hotel in our costumes, looked totally ridiculous, and showed up, and it was actually very cool because the first thing that we went to was Gary Vaynerchuk's talk, and so of course we sat in the front center because we wanted to see if we could break them, because like there's no way you can look out into that audience and see two idiots in a in green spandex and not say something. And so it was an interview style, but they asked him his first question. He goes, "Well, hold on a second. Before we continue, would you guys please stand up and turn around for a second?" And and so we stood up, and he's just like, "I just want to make mention that all you guys, I don't care how much money you made and how successful you are, these are the only two people that are going to be remembered here because they had the balls to stand up and show up like this." He's just like, I don't know what the hell you were thinking, but God bless you, and it was really cool. We got a big thing. We were on the video. We were interviewed. We must have taken about 150, 200 pictures. Every vendor wanted our picture. People were. I mean, we walked away knowing everybody. It was an amazing experience. Like when you could break somebody's state and do something like that. And then what was really cool was like the next day everybody was worried and wondering what we were going to do. Because the next day was the black tie affair. And
was that when you dressed up like Dumb and Dumber?
Yeah, so we went to a vintage tuxedo rental place online, and we rented the powder blue and the rust-colored tuxes with the ruffles and the whole thing, and the huge bow ties, and we showed up in that, and there were people that were pissed. I mean, there were people that had spent thousands on a dress and jewelry and everything else, and here we were, poking fun at this whole thing. And but we were the life of the party, man. We tore it up, and we got invited to the VIP table, so we sat right in the front. And one of the CEO of Inc. pulled us aside and said, "I really hope you guys make it next year because this party wouldn't be the same without you."
So you lost a lot of sleep over the people that were
yeah, exactly.
upset. Yeah, I can tell because you're such a sensitive guy.
Well, what did you say, Precious? Is that what you called me?
Yeah, Precious. I could pull up those. There's actually a page that's got all sorts of images on there. So with you in those green costumes. So did you like?
Sure.
So do you do those at like kids' parties and stuff like that now? Is that where is that is that a secondary income? I'm just looking for income streams.
Okay, first of all, you're not a kid anymore, so enough with the little birthday parties, all right? You guys trying to be grown up.
Well, yeah, but you said you lived with your mom, so I'm thinking, hey, if he lives with his mom, it's real possible he's still doing the kids.
That's right. In the story, I forgot to mention the part where I did move out. So
you did?
I can see how that's misleading. Yeah.
Yeah. When did you do that? Like in the last 6 months? Or?
No, it was a couple weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So you haven't actually made your first house payment yet, so to speak.
No. Well, before that happens, I'm gonna go back.
Well, you could always hit her up, because parents are good for that stuff. As you'll find out as you get. How old are your kids?
10 and 5.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great age, man. I can tell you this. In all seriousness, I can tell you for a fact. Have fun with them right now because they'll only be that age right now. And there's things that just I know. Isn't that like deep?
They're going to be 10 and 5 again tomorrow. But I hear what you're saying.
Well, that was Stan Bush in his best Yogi Berra moment there.
Right.
So that's well, I mean, I'm just telling you as a dad that's got 4, and that my youngest is now 18, and wow. It's really different. And
it goes fast.
Yeah, but what I've noticed about you is that you work about like what, maybe 2 hours a day.
Are you kidding? I'd be exhausted right now.
Well, tell me what your day looks like working. I mean, I know that you start off with the Sam Adams for breakfast, right? And then you do what?
No, you know what? Well, I have the kids in the morning. I take them off to school, and I come back, and I do actually do some, do work with clients and stuff like that, and just check in on projects, and I do a lot of reading and writing, and in the evenings. I mean, I will say, I don't want to bore you with my minute to minute, but I don't turn off. Like I wake up around 6, 5:30, 6 o'clock. I'm up till about 1, and my brain is constantly spinning. I'm either working with our clients with Rethink, or in the evenings I'm usually writing, or I'm reading something, trying something new. working on a post, working on a book, something. It drives my wife a little crazy, but she goes to bed early, so then I have the night to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Well, I got somebody. I'm going to see if he's ready. If I got somebody that might want to ask you a question.
Okay.
I had told him that I might invite him in here, and he may. He knows a little bit about search engine optimization.
Is this Yoda?
Yoda.
Yeah, it's Yoda. Now he may have blocked me.
I don't blame him. I'm about to do that when we get off this call.
I know. As soon as we finish this, it's real possible he may have blocked me, or he may be doing something else right now. That's because he didn't. He told me he knew you. I mean, sort of. Only through the internet, though. I mean, y'all weren't close and personal friends. You hadn't spent any time in the bathroom with him. That kind of thing.
Okay.
All right. Like you were bragging on some of the other folks, but he may not.
Bragging.
Yeah, you were bragging. It's like, hey, but why did they put that in the Honda commercial or whatever that is? Hey, there's the guy that went to the restroom with him. That's an interesting story though on the restroom.
My 5 minutes in the urinal by Marc Ensign.
Right.
Yeah.
Start a blog.
Yeah.
My 5 minutes.
Have you got any other interesting bathroom stories you'd like to share?
No, you said to keep it clean, so I think we're just gonna leave it with that one.
Well, I have one. Restroom story that was in Atlanta in the 70s at. There was a bar up there at the time. I'm trying to think. I can't think of the name of it because I did actually enjoy the 70s. But when you went to the Agora Ballroom, I think it was, and when you went to the restroom there, it took me about 5 minutes to figure out on the restroom on the door. You know how they have like cows and heifers and cows and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, on this one, on one door, they had a picture of Lou Reed. Okay, and on the other door they had a picture of Lou Reed, and I couldn't figure out. I was just standing there going like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. And there were people that, if you watched it back then, everybody was going at them, and it was really, really different. That was the time. That was about the same time he had that song out about Take a Walk on the Wild Side, and I was a guy from a town of about 5,000. It was really kind of a shock to me. But I would like to hear more about your bathroom story.
Is that where all this was going?
That's exactly where it was going.
I was waiting to find out which one you went into.
Well, you remember that story about Mr. and Mrs. Smith both?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I went into.
Got it.
I couldn't figure out. It was really different. It was really, really different. But there were a lot of people that were coming through there at that time.
You peed your pants, didn't you?
Yes. Yes. You mean then or? Oh no, back then? I don't remember.
No, I was talking about right now.
No, I did not because I'm not wearing any. But now
we've got two in the audience that don't wear any pants. So
right.
Yeah, there's this. It's a pantless deal. So Troy, have you got any serious questions for him?
Boy, I tell you, I'm laughing so hard right now. I can't even think of anything really serious. Talk about this. You were persistent to the point of, and I think you literally said this, that you got restraining orders when you were really going after this goal, and this persistence. I mean, is that? And I've read. I had a good friend of mine who's he's a older guy. He's probably 20 years my senior, but he is like this sales machine guy. He's always been in sales, and he says, Troy, he says, it's just numbers with sales. He says, you ask enough people, eventually you'll get a yes. And he's like that little dog that grabs your leg, and just won't let go. I mean, He's a great guy, and he's totally customer driven, but he doesn't. No never knocks him down. No is just another step to a yes. Mm-hmm. And just talk about, because you talked about persistence and just kind of pushing through, and that I love that quality about you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying that if I said like it didn't, like all these little tiny cuts didn't hurt. I mean, like I would take no, I would hear no so many times over the course of a day. I was too young. I wasn't good enough. I didn't know enough people. Throughout that whole process, that at the end of the day, I'd be curled up in the fetal position. But I was so hungry for this gig that it didn't matter. Like I woke up the next morning and it was just like, all right, what are we gonna do today? Like I know that every day just brought me closer, and I just needed somebody to not say no, and that was just enough, for that was enough of a cracker to just to kind of whet my appetite and go like, all right, I'm getting closer, and and so I always had those along the way. Like it was, I get weeks of no's, but then somebody would say, I talked to a musical director, and he would say, well, to be honest with you, I really can't talk to you, and because you're not a member of the union. You'd have to join the union before we can do this, before I can help you. But the thing was, you couldn't join the union unless you had a gig, and you couldn't get a gig unless you were a member of the union. So what I did was I called the union and I said, hey, John, the musical director told me to join the union. I'm like, oh, so he offered you the gig? So I was like, well, he told me to join the union, didn't he? And so oh, okay, and that's how I got in the union. And so then I called him back. I said, here's my union card. And then he was, oh, okay, how'd you pull that off? I'm like, don't worry about it, let's talk. And then so he started giving me a lot of advice, and that was just enough of a, helped me get through the nose for the next couple weeks. And then something else happened where, I would go to the theater, and I would pick the shows that I wanted, and I'd wait outside in between the matinee and the evening show on like Saturday or Sunday. And when the band would come out, I'd just make an announcement. I want to take the band out to dinner. Or I want to just, somebody in the band, I don't care who it was, a triangle player. I just want to take somebody out to dinner just to make a friend. And every now and then somebody would say yes. And so that that fed me a little bit for a little longer. And so it was, I mean, it definitely kicked my ass, and it definitely, it definitely is a test in, in your self-esteem and your ability to take it out on the chin. But if you are committed, and I believe that if I want something bad enough, I mean, God help you if you're in my way. I'll figure out a way around it. I'll make it happen. And the no's are just part of the deal.
So when is is it Tuesday that you're going to be interviewed with Leopold?
Yeah.
Yeah, what time is it?
I believe it's 12:30.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be, have you watched his show?
I have, yeah.
Well, it's going to be much, like, I'm trying to think the word. It's going to be much more, professional and prepared than ours is at this point. Because I think he does, like, I don't know how many he does. He probably does, I think he's got 500 or something in the can right now. And
so you're suggesting don't talk about the bathroom thing. Is that what you're getting at?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
With David, you have to talk about, other things. But his interviews are pretty fast paced. Have you talked with Jason Weiser yet?
No.
Well, he's probably going to be on your list next too. There's probably going to be a lot of people that are going to be picking up because you're.
Wait, hold on. Are you going to say something nice? I got to hold on. I got to sit up for this.
Golly.
All right.
I almost did that. Yeah, I almost said, something like you're. Well, I almost said that you were a pretty bright guy, but I kind of choked on it. But no, I think you're going to have a lot of people that are this is the first week that we've done this particular format.
Sure.
And I think that as people get introduced, get introduced to you, I think that they're really going to get you. I think you're going to do really well out here. And Jason, man, you just. If Jason asks you to be interviewed, you just say yes, okay? Because he is just like bam, 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 bam. It's 30 minutes long, and it'll be a great interview. I'm sure that Mia and Christine are probably going to pick up on you. I expect you to just do really, really, good things because a lot of them have been hitting me over and asking me to give them some of those pictures of you. So that's kind of how I know that. So what's the next book?
I am working on a book I'm writing right now called "How to Be a Dick to Everybody That You Meet Online," and it's
That should
More of
come
the
back.
bathroom stuff?
no,
Yeah,
no, no.
yeah. Wait a minute, that's not even. That
There's
should
a
really,
little
really
trend.
natural for you.
There's a trend going on. No, I had written a blog post, I guess a couple months ago when I first moved, probably 6 months ago, when I first moved to Florida. I used to live in New Jersey, and I moved down to Florida, and we just kind of, threw a dart at the map, and ended up here, uh, so we knew nobody, and we had a box, house full of boxes, and I went out for a walk with my kids, and I met my neighbor who lives about 8 houses down, whose name was Dick, and like just an exceptional guy. We had this great talk. 15 minutes into the talk, he's on his knee talking to my kids, just really, but like talking to my kids, not just going, not just humoring them, and really helpful. I'm gonna, give me your email address. I'll send you a list of all the people that you need to call. Here are all the utilities. Garbage day is Monday and Thursday. I mean, everything that you need to know when you first move into an area. And he ended with, and if you ever need a ladder, I got two, so let me know. And like a ladder is always one of those things that you never want to buy because you only need one, every now and then. And then like, and nobody ever has a ladder. And he saved me from being that pain in the ass neighbor. And so then we met up with his wife. His wife gave us a tour of their house because my wife and I suck at decorating, although she thinks we're okay, but we're not. She's just delusional. And we're taking a tour through the house, and the guy's got at least a dozen Emmys on a bookshelf in his in his living room. And so I was like, Emmy? I mean, like real Emmys, like these are really, what's that about? He goes, just a little something I do, and he was just so humble about it. Like I had to drag it out of his wife, where they came from. And just such an interesting guy, and he just became this ambassador to for me, to our neighborhood. And so I wrote this post out of respect for how he helped me, because I was riding my bike one day, and I was like, I would love to be that person online. I would love to be that ambassador to people that don't know what they're doing online or trying to figure things out, and and try to help them find their way or point them in the right direction. Not from a sales perspective, or not trying to screw anybody, but really trying to genuinely help. And so that became my goal. Like from now on, I'm going to be a dick to everybody that I meet online, and Dick with a capital D. And because I was so inspired by his story, and the post really took off. I mean, it got like a crazy amount of traffic because some guy from Star Trek liked it and posted it. I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know who he was. My wife knew who he was.
Yeah, plus it has a big keyword for porn, which a lot of people search for. So
right.
that didn't hurt it.
No, of course not. So it just was very impactful. I started doing a talk on it, and I started getting such great feedback because it was a different way to look at social media and website and your internet persona. And there were these 10 things that I found that were that Dick lived by. He's very humble. He was always out to help people. He never asked for anything in return. He was very engaged, and when you talked to him, he actually listened. It wasn't just about waiting for that minute for him to jump in and start talking. Like there were these 10 ways of life that he treated everybody, put everybody through that system. And I thought that was so cool that I just kind of fine-tuned that blog post and started writing, just to get it out there, and just started writing a book about it.
Oh, well, we're reaching the end here. It is 10:58, so we got about 2 minutes to wrap everything up. So, you can be found. Probably the easiest way. I made a little. I'm not going to screen share again because I'm.
Oh boy.
Because I don't want you to see my email again. And besides, I've been looking at something else while you've been talking. But what there is a. But if you go to stanbush.net. Or 52folks.com. There is actually an image there that's got links to all your Twitter. It's got links to all of your. This video will be there. There'll be links to your. Let's see. You do LinkedIn. You do Twitter. You do Facebook and Google Plus.
I exist in a couple of places, but I mainly Google Plus and Twitter are places. Like if you're interested in seeing what my dog looks like, or pictures of the cupcakes that I ate for breakfast, then that would be Facebook.
So your main thrust now is going to be in Google Plus, you think?
I absolutely love it. It reminds me of Twitter from, years ago, like where there's really good people on there. I've met like a lot of great people that really, it's I don't know, like maybe I just stepped into the right crowd, with the exception of you, of course.
Yeah.
I've loved the interaction. It's been great. So I've actually found myself copy and pasting some things that I say on Google Plus onto Twitter, just so I can remember to have an appearance over there every now and then. But like Google Plus has been my first place now, first stop in the morning.
Is there anything you want to wrap it up with, Troy?
No, I want to thank Mark, really for your time today. I know you could have done something else today, and you were willing to spend your time with Stan and I and the 52 folks team. And I know that as I've read through some of these comments that people really enjoyed your story, enjoyed how you engage, and that you've got a great sense of humor.
Thanks. I appreciate it, everybody.
We do appreciate it. And, you could have chose to do something else, and yet you said yes to us and no to something else. So.
Right. I do regret that a little bit, but I'm okay. I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, well, that was part of that restraining order. One of the things that I had to, I had to agree to pay some bail, to be able to get him out, and he saw the benefit of that.
Sure.
And as far as the comment tracker, I don't see any of that, by the way. I hope to have that fixed by next week.
Oh, great! So you fix that for somebody else.
Well, somebody more meaningful. That's what I'm. And somebody, like I said, this is being indexed. Matt Cutts, is indexing it and looking at. He's watching us right now.
Great. So that means you're going to search my name and P or bathroom or Dick, and I'm going to
as far as I can.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that, Stan.
Yeah. I know that the keywords that you can be found right now is a dick, an ass, and that vacation thing. Those are that's you got that going for you.
Right.
But we appreciate everybody watching, and we'll have another show next week, and we'll be, we won't have to deal with Mark so much, but y'all come back and see us.
My mom would be so proud.